Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Podcast. I'm Lauren LaSalle, and I'm a licensed therapist, highly sensitive person, and HSP coach. This bi-weekly podcast is meant for highly sensitive people and their loved ones, as both experiences will be discussed. Thank you for joining me, and let's begin. Welcome to the first episode of the Highly Sensitive Podcast. Doing this is very much out of my comfort zone, but I am so excited to start this podcast and see where it goes. My name is Lauren LaSalle, and as I said in the intro, I'm a licensed therapist and HSP coach. I started my coaching business in October of 2021 because while many of my therapy clients are highly sensitive people, I wanted to find a way to work specifically with HSPs on HSP-related topics. My coaching sessions are done virtually through Zoom and are available to highly sensitive adults and highly sensitive children and their parents. My hope for this podcast is that it will be a mixture of me sharing my experience as a highly sensitive person and speaking with others to share their experiences as HSPs, partners of HSPs, parents of HSPs, everything HSP related. And if you have any ideas for episode topics, or if you have any questions for me to answer on the podcast, or if you would like to write me an email sharing your story for me to read on the podcast, you can email me at lauren@laurenlasallecoaching.com. So for today's episode, I figured I'd talk a little bit about what exactly a highly sensitive person is. So a highly sensitive person is someone who has the personality trait of high sensitivity, which is also known as sensory processing sensitivity, and that is not the same thing as sensory processing disorder, which is a neurological disorder. So the trait of high sensitivity affects about 15 to 20% of the population, and it is also found in animals. And one of my cats is actually highly sensitive. We're best friends. We really get each other. So it's important to note that because high sensitivity is a personality trait, it is not a diagnosis. And I know that a lot of people are told about high sensitivity by their therapist. So I just wanted to make that distinction. And high sensitivity is not the same thing as introversion, but can often mistakenly be seen as the same thing. And while many HSPs are introverts, about 70%, 30% of HSPs are extroverts. High sensitivity has 4 basic characteristics that you can remember by using the acronym DOES, DOES, which stand for depth of processing, overstimulation, emotional responsiveness and empathy, and sensitivity to subtleties. And we will get more in depth about what exactly each of these are in future episodes. So some of the signs of high sensitivity include being easily overwhelmed by strong sensory input, such as bright lights, loud noises, strong smells, or coarse fabrics. When you've been busy, you tend to find yourself needing to withdraw to a quiet, private place. You get rattled when you have a lot to do in a short period of time. You try hard not to make mistakes and to please others. You have difficulty adjusting to change. Other people's moods affect you. You process things deeply, and others see you as sensitive or shy. So some of the signs specific to children include complaining about scratchy clothing, seams in socks, or labels against their skin. They don't enjoy big surprises or do well with big changes. They want to change clothes if they are wet or sandy. They feel things deeply, and they perform best when strangers aren't present. There is a self-test and a highly sensitive child test for parents to take on hsperson.com that can give you a better idea of the characteristics that make up a highly sensitive person. Although, as with most things, not everybody is going to identify with all of the same characteristics. There is some variety from person to person. hsperson.com is a great website for HSPs in general. There are lots of resources, there are articles, lots of information. There is a list of highly sensitive, knowledgeable therapists and coaches, which is a great resource to have. And to wrap up, some great book resources include pretty much any book written by Dr. Elaine Aron, who also runs hsperson.com. So some of her books are The Highly Sensitive Person, The Highly Sensitive Child, The Highly Sensitive Parent, The Highly Sensitive Person in Love, and The Highly Sensitive Person's Workbook. There are many other resources out there, but those are a few that I'm going to list today. So you can find out more about my coaching program, as well as resources and links to my social media by visiting my website at laurenlasallecoaching.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and please share this podcast with anybody who may be interested in learning more about what it means to be a highly sensitive person. Before I sign off, I will leave you with a quote. Never apologize for being yourself. It's how your people find you.